back here again with another lesson. Today's lesson is going to be about, it's going to be another part four of, a series I got called The End of an Era. And today we'll be speaking about the end of the Roman Empire, will be AKA America, and the restoration of Israel. But first and foremost, before we get into that, I want to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. All prayers and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who brought out this truth many, many years ago and still to this day preaching us this truth. I want to say shalom to all the true believers, the men and the women that's learning, teaching, and seeking the Lord that will all sincerity and due diligence. I want to say to all shalom. Again, back with another lesson. And we're going to get straight into it, man. And still, talking about America, the downfall is place in the the Roman Empire, aka America Empire, Babylon, Egypt, modern day Egypt, all of that, which symbolizes America. It's going to be put down. That rulership being put down, and the new rulership, which is going to be us, the restoration of Israel. And we're gonna get right into it, man. As I got to pull it up right here out of NLT, we're gonna start at Daniel chapter 7, verse 7, and Daniel verse 8 as well. So right here, again, it says, "Then in my vision, Salaki, then in my vision that night, I saw forest beasts. That forest beast equals that Roman Empire. What I'm saying? In America is that last leg of the Roman Empire. And it says, terrifying, dreadful, and very strong. It devoured and crushed its victims with huge iron teeth, trampled their remains beneath its feet. So the iron teeth is America's military might. And it says it devoured and crushed its victim with huge iron teeth. And all this is just America's military might because America has the most powerful military, which is why they're able to go over there, uh, take take over Venezuela. They boasting and bragging about doing Colombia, Cuba, Greenland, Denmark, and all these different things because they're military of the with huge iron teeth and try with their enemies beneath his feet. Because American military might is so powerful. And they've been able to brag so boastfully because America has never faced any consequences from everything that they've been doing. And you see all they're doing right now is just taking over countries, taking their resources, just devouring everything. And we're gonna look up this word devour real quick. Let's go to looking this. For beast dreadful, extremely strong, large eye teeth, it crushed in, trampled down the remainder feet. If I look at this word devoured, which I did earlier, maybe it's in the KJV. Yeah, let's do it over here. Yeah, quick. I'll look at this word devour. Yeah, let's look at this word devour. Hey, look at this word devoured. So like I'm trying to look at the definition. Is it this? I think it's this one. Okay, yep. Devoured, it says to eat, to devour, to eat of beasts, to devour, to eat their pieces and phrases that is slander. And that's all America is doing right now. Is eating. Eating up all these different countries, eating up their resources, eating up their power, eat just to keep at a strong hand. Just to stay in power, just to show their military might. And that's how that's America. They constantly eating up, like I said, eating up their resources, devouring everything that they come across, man. Stealing, kidnapping, and taking another leader of a different country, imprisoning him. Same thing they did with Saddam Hussein. That's America, man. All right, so again, let's get back into it. Daniel chapter 7, verse 7, it says, then I saw a vision at night. I saw a forest beast, terrifying, dreadful, very strong. It devoured and crushed his victim with huge iron teeth and trampled their enemies beneath his feet. And that's why, like I said, that's why America is so big and so boastful and can do what they do because of their military might, just like the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was compared to iron, back in the day. And iron is like the strongest metal. It's not too shiny, not too, bright and good looking, but it's the strongest metal, and that's what the Roman Empire was compared to. It was compared to back in the day. And it says, and it was different from any other beast, and it had 10 horns, and those 10 horns, and it's different because of it's powerful, man. It's the strongest they ever seen in a while, right? And it says it had 10 horns, and those 10 horns represents the EU nations, right? Like I said, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, I think Luxembourg, Netherlands, Denmark, the UK, and so on and so on, right? So let's continue on verse 8, and it says, as I was looking at the horns, suddenly another small horn appeared among them, and that little small horn will be considered America. And Daniel don't really go into how that little horn came, but I know um, I know in Revelation chapter 13, which we're gonna grab right here, Revelation 13, starting at 3. Let me see. Right, we gotta pull up like Revelation 13, starting at 3 through 7. It says, and I saw the head of the beast that seemed wounded beyond recovery, and the head of the beast that was wounded beyond recovery was that Roman Empire, right? The Roman Empire was wounded to death, and it came back as America. That's that ancient Roman revival. That's the revival ancient Roman Empire, which would be America, right? It says, but a fatal wound was healed. Then the whole world marveled at this miracle, at this miracle, and gave alliance to the beast, which it was a miracle because they never seen something as powerful since the Roman Empire, which America is the one who came up after that Roman Empire. That's why America is considered the ancient Rome, is considered, Babylon is considered modern day Egypt, right? So again, it says, I saw one of the heads of the beast seen wounded beyond recovery, which was the Roman Empire. It says, but the fatal wound was healed, and it healed. That's that ancient revival of the Roman Empire, which would be America, the little horn. The whole world was marveled at this miracle and gave allegiance to the beast. And it says they worship the dragon for giving the beast such power, and also worship the beast. Who is great as the beast? They exclaim. Who will fight against him? It says, then the beast was allowed to speak great blasphemies against Yahweh Yahushua. He was given authorities to do whatever he wanted to do for 42 months. See, that's America, man. They able to say whatever they want, blaspheming the names of the Lord. Speaking against the Israelites, oppressing the saints. Making up all these laws and legislations to constantly oppress us and put us down. Salakia, real quick. Let me mute this. Hold on. All right, Salakia. My wife needed something real quick, Salakia. Back to what I was saying. Start back here, verse 3. And it says, I saw one of the heads and the beast seemed wounded beyond recovery. That's the Roman Empire. But the fatal wound was healed. And that's that ancient revival of Roman Empire, which is America. It says, then the whole world marveled at this miracle and gave allegiance to the beast. And it says, I'm all out of breath. Salakia, I was running. I had to take my card. I had to take my wife's debit card. It says, they worship the dragon for giving the beast such power. They also worship the beast who is great as this beast, they exclaim, who is able to fight against him. See, that's what everybody's thinking. America has never, like I said, faced any consequences. So now, They at the point to where who can defeat this man? You see him devouring all these different countries, taking their resources, taking their leaders and all these different things and setting up shop. And so they living up to the name, man. And it says, then the beast was allowed to speak great blasphemies against God and was given authority to do whatever he wanted for 42 months. All right, let's continue. He said, right here, verse 6, he said, spoke terrible words and blasphemy against God, saying that he is God, that there is no God, who I don't have to follow nobody. He think he's self-sufficient. He think he got everything on his own, just total disrespectful. Slandering his name and dwelling, that is, who is dwell in heaven. Yahweh Hawashah, and the beast was allowed to wage war against God's holy people, that's us, the Israelites, the Negroites, and the Native American, and conquer them, which he has. This is Esau heaven, and this is our hell. And the only way it's going to be restored once this beast, aka America, gets put down completely and was given authority to rule over every tribe, people, language, in the nation. You see, that's America. It rules over everything. That's how he's able to go into Venezuela and, kidnap Maduro, steal all their resources and, set up shop and sell it off to make the money off of it. Same thing they talk about doing with Colombia. Same thing they talk about doing with Cuba. Same thing they talk about doing with Mexico. Same thing they talk about doing with Greenland and Denmark, Iran, all these different things, man. So let's go back to Daniel 7. Let's continue on verse 8. Again, and it says, Salakia. And it says, suddenly another small horn appeared among them. We already established that was America. Three of the first horns were torn out by the roots to make room for it. This little horn had eyes like human eyes, and this is how you know it's America again. This is a hint. The mouth that was boasting arrogantly. Who is the most arrogant, boasting country in the world? America, the land of the proud, the land of the brave, the land of the free. That's America, man. Right? So the only way Israel will be restored is when this Roman ancient empire, aka America, gets put down, man. Right? So let's go to Psalms chapter 3. Psalms chapter 3, verse 7. Psalms chapter 3, verse 7. Right here, and it says, arise, O Adonai Yahweh, rescue me, my power, slap all my enemies in the face, shatter the teeth of the wicked. See that? That iron teeth that represents America's military. That the Lord is going to shatter the teeth of this place, and that's America's military might. The Lord is going to break this place down and make it a complete wasteland. America has all this AI technology, all these nukes, all these missiles, all this high tech stuff, but they're gonna use all that to still get smashed, man. Right here, and it says, victory comes from you, O Adonai Yahweh. May you bless your people. So the victory comes from Yahweh Yahweh Shai. And in order for the nation of Israel to get restored, we have to put this beast down first. Not we, but the Lord has to put this beast down first and put us next up in this place. Because like I said, right now, America's on top. America has all the power, able to do whatever he want right now through the grace, through the spirit of the Lord. And America's continuing to making this man proud, boasting him up, same thing he did with Pharaoh, in in ancient Egypt, hardening his heart to show his power. He got everybody thinking that, this great beast, this great whore, aka America, is, you know, um, is the biggest military and that nobody can beat it. No, who can destroy? That's what they asked in Revelation chapter. Who can destroy this beast? Who can challenge the beast? No one can beat this. You know what I'm saying? And so that's America. Who can challenge America's military? We got the best military in the world. Nobody can beat us. Da 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 da. But the Lord says, it says, slap my enemies in my face, put them to shame. When you slap a person in the face, man, that's embarrassing, man. That's a shame. That's shameful. So it says, slap my enemies in the face, shatter the teeth of the wicked, man. And that teeth represents America's military might. The Lord is going to break this place down and shatter this place into pieces, man, and make it a complete wasteland. And then they could go into captivity, right? So now let's go back to Revelation. We're going to go to Revelation 21 and 1. All right, let's see. It's the next one. Oops. God doggone it. See. Revelation 20. Under this. Let's just type it there. Revelation 21 and 1. We're going to start there. Revelation 21 and 1. And it says, Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had disappeared, and the sea was all gone. And see, that's that new rulership. The earth is going to be cleansed under that new rulership of us, the Israelites, and Yahweh Shai. Right? The weak and the wicked, everything is weak and wicked because of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Everything right now is of a low quality. What I'm saying? Low quality everything, low quality leadership, low quality food, low quality water. Everything is wicked, sinful. Everybody's doing all these different things that they're not supposed to do. The whole world right now is anti-Messiah. So when the new heaven and the new earth, for the old earth and heaven that past disappeared, the sea was all gone. That new heaven, new earth. That's us being in power, man. That's us. That's that new rulership. Us being joint heirs with Yahweh, Shai. I will go to verse 2 and it says, I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And it's not the actual city, because remember, Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. That's Jake and those new bodies under that new government, that new rulership, and Jake gonna be perfect, right? And so, in order for the empire to get smashed and destroyed completely, it's gonna be a perfect balance. Because while those nukes coming down from all these different nations and the allies shooting nukes over here at America, that this great horde of beasts, what I'm saying, we gonna be getting beamed up. That's that perfect balance. While the news getting shot down, we gonna be getting beamed up through these chariots, man. Right? So let's prove that right here. Let's go to Revelation chapter 11, verse 12. Revelation chapter it's like chapter 11, verse 12. Revelation chapter 11, verse 12. And it says, Then with a loud voice from heaven called to the two prophets. It says, Come up here. And they rose to heaven in a cloud, as a cloud, Slakia. And they rose to heaven in a cloud as an enemy watched. We're going to get in the KJV, and it says, And they heard a great voice from heaven saying to them, Come up hither, as they ascended heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And so everybody going to be seeing us get beamed up, man. You know what I'm saying? That's that strange salvation. While you see noose getting shot off in the air, noose coming down, you're going to see chariots all in the air beaming up his elect, man. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, that's that perfect balance. So mercy going up and wrath coming down. The perfect balance of Yahweh Shai. You know what I'm saying? And the only way Israel's going to be restored once, this Roman Empire, the ancient Roman Empire, aka America, gets put down by them nuclear missiles, right? And let's continue. Let's grab a couple of accounts of, people getting beat up by them chariots. So let's go to Second Kings chapter 2, verse 11. Second Kings 2, verse 11. Second Kings chapter 2, verse 11, and it says, As they were walking along, suddenly a chariot of fire appeared, drawn by horses of fire. It drove between the two men and separated them, with Elijah carried off by a whirlwind in heaven. And that's those chariots right here. It says suddenly a chariot of fire. That's those that people call the UFOs, man. You know what I'm saying? This is an account when Elijah got beamed up, into heaven through a chariot. And that's gonna be that strange salvation that the people gonna see. They're gonna be amazed at the way we get beamed up, man. They're gonna be amazed at the way we get saved up out of here. Right? And let's go to Wisdom of Solomon real quick. That's it get that strange salvation. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 2. Wisdom of Solomon, Salaki, 5 and 2. Right here, and it says, shoot. It was Solomon chapter 5, verse 2, and it says, When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible figures. They're going to be scared, man. They're going to think it's an alien invasion. And our reality is that the chariots of the Lord, coming to zap all these people up and then to save us up out of here. And it says, when they see it, they should be troubled with fear. Because, like I said, they're going to think it's an alien invasion. They shall be amazed as the strength of his salvation far beyond all that they look for. So, this whole time, all these people thinking these UFOs are real and aliens are real, you know, and it's just a whole bunch of monstrous looking things controlling these spaceships, they're going to be amazed at it, man. They're going to be shocked. Like, God, a whole this time, we thought it was this, but it's really the angels of the Lord coming back to save the elect, man. So, it's going to be a strange salvation beyond all these people could imagine and everything they think of. You know, they're gonna the people who look down on us, the least suspect gonna get beamed up, man. They don't even know. The ones that's out here teaching on the corners, some of us, Lord, when I'm part of that number, some of us, a lot of the elect is gonna get beamed up out of here through them UFOs. Right, let's grab one more account. We're gonna go to Acts real quick, chapter 1, verse 9. Just when Yahweh Shai got beamed up. Acts 1. What's the lock image that? Acts 1 and 9. It says after saying this, which Yahweh Shai, he was taken up into a cloud where they were watching and they could no longer see him. And it says, as they strange to see him rising into heaven, two white robed men suddenly stood among them. See, they were looking at Yahweh Shai get beamed up, in the chariots, man, and they were straining to see him. Y'all ever seen that movie? Nope. You know how the UFO was disguising itself in the cloud, similar to that. Even with the movie Black Panther, when Black Panther was beaming up, the Wakandans. If I'm saying that right, they put it right in front of people's face in the TV. Nobody really wants to believe it. That's how sleep Jake is. They so sleep they don't even pay attention to the thing. That's why Esau, makes a mockery of the 2/3, man. They give you all these different distractions, all these different things to keep you low vibration, the cigarettes, the weed, the alcohol, all these different things to keep you distracted. But yet they'll place a movie like Wakanda, Wakanda Forever and a Black Panther, and showing you how they're gonna get saved and how they had a different world other than everybody else. And that's how it is. That's pretty much how it's gonna be, just in a way better form, man. Besides just so-called Wakandans, it's gonna be Negroes, Latinos, Native American, not just Negroes. All the elect who is scattered abroad, and all these 12,000 from each tribe gonna get beamed up into the chariots, man. So just wanted to grab a few accounts. And again, back to what I was saying. Revelation. Uh, where was that? Yeah, Revelation 11:12, and he heard a great voice in heaven saying, "Come up," saying unto them, "Come up hither." So, as I said, that's that strange salvation. When it says, "Come up hither," that's us getting beamed up, and they ascended into heaven in a cloud, and the enemies beheld them. All right, that's us getting beamed up, man, in those chariots. Right. So let's go back. Let's go now to Revelation 21:3. Go back to Revelation. Now we're gonna go to verse 3. Now, Revelation 21:3, and it says, I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, Look, God's home is now coming to his people. He will live with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them. See that? And so, wait, do that right one? No, we're going to do that at the KJV. And it says, Revelation 21:3, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is now with man, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and he shall be their God. And see, we that third temple, man. The place of the tabernacle. The temple represents the presence of Yahweh Shah on earth, and now the presence of the Lord is his man. That's us, right? And that's all it is. It's just signifying, a perfect closeness, a relationship, and a presence, with the Lord Yahweh Shah. After passing of the old world, the new heaven and new earth, you know, then we're gonna be in that ultimate rulership with Yahweh Shah, that restoration of Israel. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be no more tears, no more pain, no more sickness, no more death, no more destruction, because our body's gonna be immortal, right? So again, like I said, back to this, we are that third temple, and it says, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men. So the Lord dwells in us, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. So we are that third temple when the Lord dwells in us, right? So let's go to First Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16. Grab a precept for that. First Corinthians. I think that's spelled right. Chapter 6, verse 16. Hopefully I did it right. Yep. Yep, First Corinthians. No, Second Corinthians, Salakia. God doggone. Here. Second Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16. In Second Corinthians, it's a precept for Revelation 21:3. Um, it says, 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16 says, "And what union can there be between God's temple and idols? For we are the temple of the living God. As God said, I will live in them and walk among them, and I will be their God, and they will be my people." You see, so we are that we are that temple, man, of the Lord. And Yahweh Shai being the chief cornerstone. We building on that chief cornerstone, like I said, which is Yahweh Shai. And if you look up the word chief cornerstone, it just goes into like the master builder, the architect. That's what it says, architecton, and that's what and that's where the word architect come from. It says also says the superintendent in the erection of buildings. And like I said, we are the master builders as well through Yahweh Shai, right? So let's prove that real quick. Let's go to First Corinthians chapter 1. It's like First Corinthians chapter 3, verse 10. First Corinthians chapter 3, verse 10. So we are that, we are those master builders through Yahweh Shai. It says, right in the KJV, and it says, "And according to the grace which we have through Yahweh Shai, grace of Yahweh Shai, which is given unto me as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation, and another beneath their own. But let every man take heed on how he build it." Right. And it said right here, "For no other foundation can no man lay that is laid, which is Yahweh Shah Hamashiach." So if your foundation ain't built on Yahweh Shah, your foundation is gonna crumble, man. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, we are that third temple. Each one of us are part of that body. Each one of us are part of that function body. Everybody has their own role. Everybody has their own part. Everybody has their own gift. Each one of us is a stone which builds that spiritual temple, not a physical temple. It's the spiritual temple. That which is that third temple. Everything is spiritual nowadays. It's a spiritual warfare. It's a spiritual battle that we battling every day, battling with the flesh, battling with our demons in our mind, the way we think, the way we act, the way we carry ourselves. It's a spiritual warfare. And so let's look at this word master builder. Again, like I said, it means architecton, wise master builder. See, it says architecton. Let's see if we can hear it.
Strong's G 753. Architecton.
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 Architecton. See, and that's where the word architect come from. It says a master builder, an architect, a superintendent in the erection of buildings. See, so that's Yahweh Shai. He's that chief cornerstone. But through him, we became master builders. You know, through the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, we are the master builders as well through Yahweh Shai. That's like I said, that's where the word architect come from. And we are the ones building that spiritual temple. Like I said, each one of us is a stone. Each one of us is part of that body. And we all play our damn role, man. Right? So let's go back to that First Corinthians. It's like, man, how about back? Let me see. Okay, yeah, here we go. Right here in verse 11. And it says, "For no other foundation can no man lay that is laid, which is Yahweh Shah Hamashiach." So you can't just build anything, man. Anything outside of Yahweh Shah, you're not a part of this household, period, man. You're not a part of that spiritual temple. You're not a part of that body. If you're building on Jesus Christ, preaching at the MOTB is everything else other than the RFID microchip. You know what I'm saying? You building on that hand stubble, and you're not gonna have a leg to stand on in the time of trouble. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're doing right now. We're helping restore the nation of Israel by down here teaching, you know, bringing back the lost sheep, right? And so that's how, continuously, that's how, Israel gonna be restored. But us constantly doing the work and constantly out here teaching and doing our part as well, manifesting the kingdom at hand, man. Right? Speaking everything into existence. So let's go into what's next. Now we're gonna go to Revelation chapter 21, verse 4. Revelation 21 and 4. Revelation 21 and 4, the KJV, and it says, "And Yahweh shall wipe away all tears from their eyes." And there should, it's like, again, it says, "And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. You see that? So that's that old earth. That old earth and old heaven is this new, which is the new this rulership, this current rulership right now is gonna be passed away and put away slowly, man. And when we come into that new kingdom, this is where Yahweh, it's like Yahweh Shah is going to wipe away all tears from the eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, man. See, and this signifies, the perfect presence and the elimination of sin, sorrow, and physical suffering, man. This is what gives us that hope. See, the 2/3, they don't really have any hope, man, which is why they coping and dealing with everything that Esau puts in front of them. Coping with Esau. You know what I'm saying? Coping with alcoholism, coping with going out partying all night, sleeping with another man's wife. You know what I'm saying? They're really just trying to bury their oppression. You know what I'm saying? We in the house of mourning right now, and even though we do all these things, they still won't go away. So those tears that it speaks, so those tears go into a condition, man. You know what I'm saying? We cry out all day, but really all we're trying to do is escape. We're ready to get the hell up out of here, man. And this is, to be restoration to Israel. Everything would be wiped away. Esau will be wiped away. Death will be wiped away. All of our shame, like I said, sorrow, no crying, everything that has something to do with wickedness and sin, everything, all that stuff will be wiped away, right? So let's go to Isaiah chapter 35. It's still going back to that too, man. Like I'm saying, they 2/3 don't have no hope, man. They don't have no hope. But coming to this truth, having this knowledge and understanding, this is what gives us hope and keeps us going every day. Understanding that, there is the kingdom is at hand, right? That Israel will be restored. That's what gives us that great hope right here, Isaiah chapter 35 out of the NLT, and it says, "Those who have been ransomed by the Lord Adonai Yahweh will return when they enter Jerusalem, singing, crowned with everlasting joy." That's that everlasting salvation. Sorrow and mourning will disappear, and they shall be filled with joy and gladness. See, that's that restoration of Israel. We're gonna get our names back. We're gonna have those crowns. We're gonna be in new celestial bodies. Everything is go back. Is gonna go back to the way it's supposed to be. Right now we mourning because we under the rulership of Esau, even the so-called white man, that Roman Empire, aka America. Right? So let's go to Proverbs 29:2. Yeah. Proverbs 29:2. And it says, when the godly, we're gonna go to KJV, it said, when the righteous are authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. So right now we got a place of mourning, man. And that's why the Lord, when Israel is like it, when Israel is restored, all the tears, which is the condition that we in right now, everything is gonna be wiped away. All the sorrow, all the pain, all the suffering, all the oppression that we are constantly under, through Esau Edom, aka the Roman Empire, aka Babylon, all that's gonna be wiped away. And so right now we're still in a place of mourning. You know what I'm saying? But when the righteous are the people rejoice. When we get into power and Israel is restored, the whole world is finally gonna be able to rejoice. The trees are gonna grow to the full capacity, man. The flowers and the earth is gonna have a healthy, beautiful smell. You'll be able to smell flowers again, man. Right now everything is covered up with chemtrails, all the factories with the polluted air, the cars and all the stuff with the polluted air and the water's polluted. Everything gonna be real. Everything gonna be in its rightful place, man. The animals gonna rejoice. The soil, everything that's living is gonna is gonna rejoice at that time. But right now, everything is suffering. Deforestation under Esau's rulership, deforestation, animal extinction, air pollution, water pollution, food poison. Everything dying. It got the fucking beginning of the year starting at January 1st when everything's dead. That's how you know that represents Esau because he represents that death, man. You know what I'm saying? Because everything he puts out leads to that death. Habakkuk 2:5. Esau, he is as death, man. And then, in our reality, the beginning of the year is, you know, um, in the beginning of spring when everything is alive, everything is budding, everything is coming back alive, man. That's represents Yahweh Shah. Because the Lord is all about life and Esau is all about death. You know what I'm saying? And when we get beamed up and Israel get restored, we're gonna be in those brand new bodies, man. We're gonna be fully restored in the celestial bodies and be immortal. So it's gonna be no more death for us, you know? So let's go to Isaiah chapter 25 and 8. Esau, he's a total demon, man, and you see everything he's doing. But Esau got to get put down in order for the nation of Israel to be restored. We're gonna grab it out of the KJV. And again, he will swallow up death and victory. You know, and we're gonna go a little bit deeper to that in the book of Corinthians in a second. Death and victory, and the Lord Yahweh will wipe away tears from off all faces, and the rebuke of his people shall be taken away, shall take away from all the earth, for the Lord Adonai Yahweh has spoken it. Right. So, like I said, the curses and the curses and the tears is the condition, man. And like I said, as soon as we beamed up, we gonna feel the change. And like I said, only Yahushua can do it. The rebuke that goes into the stigma that they have on us. The niggers, the colored, the rapists, they're all they good for nothing, just athletes and rappers. They ain't got no sense, they're ignorant and all this bullshit that Esau got this stigma on us, how it is in the world. And like I said, we in the worst state. We the worst people right now. You know what I'm saying? Nobody really want to be around us, man. Right? So let's go to First Corinthians 2, talking about, everything being transformed, right? Because right now, only right we in these earthly bodies, and we suffering and withering away. But when Yahweh Shah comes, we get those earthly bodies and everything, and then everything will be changed, man. That's when death and victory we swallow up, and the Lord God wipe away all tears from the faces in the rebuke of His people. You know what I'm saying? If we gonna have those new bodies, that's us feeling that change, man. All right, so let's go to First Corinthians, chapter 15, verses 54, 53 through 56. So like out of NLT 15. Oops, that's wrong. Right here. Oops, like I think oh, no, that's right. And it says right here, for our dying bodies, right? For our dying bodies must be transformed into bodies that will never die. Those mortal bodies. Our mortal bodies must be transformed to immortal bodies, and that only can happen through Yahweh Shah. And it says, then when our dying bodies has been transformed into bodies that will never die, the scripture will be fulfilled. Death is swallowed up in victory. So there's going to be no more death, man. That's why we're in that grace period right now through Yahweh Shah. Here it says, "Oh death, where's your victory? Oh death, where's your sting?" Right here it says, "For sin is the sting that results in death." So there's gonna be no more sinning, no more. There's gonna be no more sinning, where sin leads to death. And back in the day, the Lord used to put people to death on a spot back in the day. For breaking the laws and commandments and all these different things. If He saw wickedness in you, the Lord was putting you to death on a spot. And that's why the Lord sent Yahweh Shah as the ultimate sacrifice, so we can go through what we're going through right now, that grace period, right? So right now we're going through a grace period to get it right. We're not gonna get put to death right now, but we still have to do our best to follow the laws to the best of our abilities. Or even though we're in these mortal bodies and we're gonna sin regardless of the fact, but we got to do our best to live as righteous as possible, and follow the laws to the best of our abilities, so we can receive those immortal bodies, man. So it says again, it says, for sin is the sting that results in death, and the law gives sin power. It says, but thank God He gives us victory over sin and death through our Lord Yahweh Yahushua. It's like our death, our Lord Yahushua Hamashiach. It's saying, so that's what it's saying. Thank you, Yahweh, for giving us Yahushua. Because if it wasn't for Yahushua, we wouldn't even be here, man. The Lord's gonna be done away with us because we were just so wicked and stiff necked. But He sent His only begotten Son, died for the nation of Israel only, not the whole world. He died for the nation of Israel only, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native American, the ones He made the covenant with, the one who was given the promises, the one who was given the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai, the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, not the whole world, not all these different nations, because these different nations can't be saved. They're going to be in the kingdom as servants and handmaids. He gave us Yahweh Shah to go through this grace period to do it right this time. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going through right now, a grace period, not the new covenant, right? So let's go and continue. Going back to, again, Isaiah 25 and 8, and I got another precept for Isaiah 25 and 8. I already had it up. Isaiah 25 and 8. Again, we're going to get back into that. And it says, He will swallow up death and victory, and the Lord Adonai Yahweh will wipe away tears from all faces, and the rebuke of His people shall take away from all the earth. Right? So we're gonna be, we're not gonna be put to shame no more, man. The Lord is going to bless us. The people who's persecuted, the people who's oppressed, the people whose name has been slandered throughout the earth, the Lord is going to, make us great again, man. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to be rebuked no more. We're not going to have that stigma on us, right? So that's what I'm going to grab a precept for that part right there. Matthew 5 and 11. Oops, lucky. 5 and 11 through 12 out of NLT. Right here, and it says, Yahweh blesses you when people mock you, persecute you, and lie about you. Say all sorts of evil things against you because you are my followers. And that's what's going on today. We're wearing a cult. They're murderers, they're liars, they're niggers, they're colored. They don't have the real truth. This and that. They just blaspheme our name, constantly oppress us, all these different things. But the Lord says, God bless you when people mock you, persecute you, and lie about you, and say all sorts of evil things against you because you are my followers. The Lord says, be happy about it. Be very glad, for great reward awaits you in heaven. So us going through our sufferings and our afflictions down here on earth and still maintaining the faith through Yahweh Yahushua, you know what I'm saying? We have a reward waiting on us in the kingdom, man. That's that crown. That's that everlasting salvation, them immortal bodies, being a part of the restoration of Israel. Being the first fruits and being joint heirs with Yahweh Yahushua. And again, it says the angel powers were persecuted in the same way, right? So the 2/3, like I said, they don't have no hope. They don't have no faith, and they can't even see beyond their front yard. They don't even have that knowledge and understanding, and the more understanding you have, the more faith you have, right? So if you lack understanding in the scriptures, then how the hell you gonna have faith? How you gonna believe in How Shavi if you don't understand who he is and who he was and how we got here? How you gonna understand the UFO, have faith in the chariots beaming us up if you don't understand what the chariots are? You know what I'm saying? So how you gonna understand that we gonna have slaves in the kingdom if you don't understand, that that's just part of how things go. It's a perfect balance because we slaves right now. We in Esau's heaven and this is our hell. We just nothing but modern day slaves. Even the people who making money in the NFL, the basketball, they ain't nothing but $140 million slaves. Gotta pay all them taxes back. Gotta have their image portrayed a certain way. They're nothing but puppets and characters, man. But see, for us, we have that knowledge of understanding. We not worried about trying to be seen, trying to be heard. We're not worried about trying to be like nobody else. We just worried about trying to keep our faith and staying strong and keep enduring for Yahweh Hawashah so we can receive that reward. No matter what affliction we go through, what persecution, what trial or test, none of that. We're not worried about anything because we know that comes with the territory. That's why it says be careful on how you build. And you got to count. You have to count the cost before you come into this truth, man, right? Because you can't just come in here saying anything, believing in the truth, but yet still calling on Jesus Christ and anything else. That's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? That's the Lord. Yeah, you're gonna get your ass smashed like that. You're gonna die right along with your daddy Esau, right? So I'm sorry, I kinda went off a little bit, So again, the Lord is, gonna swallow Esau up and then, laying his ass down so he'll never be able to rise again. He's gonna destroy that whole empire. All his conflicts, all his laws is gonna be swallowed up. And that's why, that's when the nation of Israel is going to be restored, right? So let's go to Psalms chapter 18 real quick, verses 37 and 38. Psalms chapter 18 and 38. And it says, I have pursued my enemies and overtaken them, neither did I turn again until they were consumed. Verse 38, it says, I have wounded them that they were not able to rise, that they had fallen under my feet. So how they gonna get wounded? With them nuclear missiles, man. The Lord is gonna destroy this. It's like it's gonna destroy this place so bad that they never be able to rise up again. Just like how did they, America has risen, it's the ancient revival of the Roman Empire. There's not going to be a revival of America after this. 'Cause this is the last. This is like I said, the end of an era. That's why it's called that, the end of an era, because this is the last rulership that Esau's ever going to have. Because after this, after this America gets put down and Israel gets cleansed with the nuclear missiles, um, we're gonna be in power, and Esau and them is going into captivity. And that's the next precept. But we're gonna grab Psalms 36 and 12, proving that, like I said, they would the evil, the wicked, they will never be able to rise up again, man. What is it? Psalm 36 and 12, Salakia. Psalms 36 and 12. And it says, look, those who do evil have, like right here, NLT, it says, look, those who do evil have fallen and are thrown down, never to rise again, man. And see, that's the Lord. The Lord is going to throw them down and they will never be able to rise up again. You can read that book of Obadiah, Jeremiah 49, Jeremiah 50. Babylon is going to get destroyed. You know, this ancient Roman Empire, aka America, is going to get destroyed, and there will never be another revival of America, man. After this is it. You know, that's when we come into power. We have the true power seat. Right now, we're going through our afflictions and everything because it's Esau time to rise, so the Lord can embarrass him in front of everybody and bring him down. That's why the Lord is building him up so great. But they're never gonna be able to rise again. And after they won't be able to rise again, that's when we be in the power and we take Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and all the Edomites and all these different nations. We take them into captivity. And let's go to Isaiah. And let's go to Isaiah chapter 14 and 2. All right, Isaiah chapter 14 and 2. Right here, out of the KJV, and it says, where do I stop at? I think it's just verse 2. Whoa. Verse 2 and 3. And it says, and the people shall take them, and people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Adonai house for service and handmaids. And they shall make them captives, who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors, man. So, you know what I'm saying? We gonna have them slaves and we gonna be free from our condition. You know what I'm saying? How the fuck is the kingdom going? How the fuck is the kingdom gonna build his own king? How the fuck is a king gonna build his own kingdom, Salaki? You know what I'm saying? Just how we built their kingdom, they gonna build our kingdom. No more pain, no more tears. You know, we ain't even gonna have to worry about every damn day about this man. In the kingdom, we ain't gonna have to worry about Esau, even the so-called white man, because he gonna be our servants and handmaids. Our oppressor is gonna be our slaves, right? Let's continue on verse 3. And it says, and it shall come to pass, the Lord shall give rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage therein which was made. And that's after we come down out of them chariots, man. You know what I'm saying? That's after we come down out of them chariots. We're not gonna worry about anything. We're not gonna worry about Esau. You know what I'm saying? Because they, like I said, they're gonna be in captivity, building up our kingdom. And after 1,000 years, they're gonna be wiped. They're gonna be burnt in the whole fire, wiped off the face of the earth, and gone, be like it, and be gone completely, right? It's got, I think, like two more precepts, and that's it. We'll go to the book of Malachi. Malachi chapter 4, verse 2. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I know I fumbled over my words a lot, but Lord willing, everything it was edifying. Out of the KJV, and it says, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go forth and grow as calves in the stall. You see that? So, let's start right here at the wings. The wings equal those chariots, man, and the healing is us being changed. You know, we're not gonna have the condition of being sorrowful and being fearful. You know, it's gonna be a joyous, immortal, peaceful lifestyle with Yahweh Shah. You know what I'm saying? Everything gonna be good, man. You know, we're gonna have everything, the celestial bodies, you know, being mortal, living forever, the everlasting salvation. We're gonna be ruling over cities, ruling over countries, ruling over the nations. You know, all the women, all the power, never getting sick. You know, we gonna be free. You know what I'm saying? And just like here, it says, and grow up a calves on the star. Real quick, let's go right here to Romans chapter 8 and verse 21 is the last precept. You know, Roman, like it's like I said, grow up as calves on the star. You know how you know. Let's see, Romans 8:21. I think it's how that you know the NLT or KJV. Let me see. NLT right here. And it said the creation looks forward to the day when it would join what's like it when it would join God's children in the glorious freedom from death and decay. See, like I said, we're gonna be free from everything, all the conditions, death, mourning. You know, we're gonna be free from everything that makes us worry. You know, we're gonna have abundance of everything in the kingdom, and that's that calves being out to start that freedom. You know, when the calves is a baby calf is being raised, you know, by the mother at the time being held off before they released, then the calves drinking the milk, getting stronger. That's us, man. Right now, we getting stronger, man, by constantly doing the work, meditating on the scriptures, praying, fasting, having faith, and trusting in the Lord, keep teaching, you know, all these different things. But soon, you know, we gonna be free. we're gonna be free like the calves being let out the stall. We're gonna have that freedom. And as soon as that calf let out the stall and is able to walk after being strong, after drinking that milk and being strong, what I'm saying? It's jumping around, clicking its heels, jumping for joy. You know what I'm talking about, man. And so that's what we look forward to. All the creation. The creation looks forward to the day when it joined God's children in glorious freedom from death and decay. So everything that the Lord created, the nation of Israel, we all look forward to, to the day when the Lord and God's children glorious from freedom and death and decay. We all look to that day, man. That's the day we can't wait on, and that's the full restoration of Israel. We fully gonna be restored. We're gonna be free of bondage, free of death, free from sorrow, free from all these tears and conditions, free from the curses. We're gonna be free from everything, man, and we're gonna be free from everything and have abundance of everything. We're gonna have abundance of resources, abundance of women, abundance of power, abundance of slaves. Our slaves gonna have slaves, man. Our children gonna have slaves, man. It's just gonna be a full, beautiful abundance and being joint heirs with Yahweh Yahweh Shah, right? So that hopefully everything was edifying. That was pretty much the point and end of an era part four. The restoration of Israel. I truly hope this lesson was edifying. You know, hey, keep strong, brothers. We almost out, man. We almost there. Keep strong. Keep teaching. Keep being faithful. Keep your hand on the plow. Don't take it off. So hey, just stay faithful, man, and keep enduring. Right. Keep up that good fight. So again, want to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Dash. Again, all praise, double honors to the elders of the apostles of Great Millstone who brought out the truth many, many years ago, still to this day preaching is the truth. Again, I want to say that I hope this lesson was truly edifying. Shalom.